When I'm busy doing totally legitimate things, I rely on OneFootball to give me all the news stories, fixtures, results, and more from the world of football. Download it for free today. Hey, what's up guys? I'm doing another video like this. You guys seem to enjoy it last time where I'm just going off the cuff and kind of giving you my thoughts on something. And so in this one, I want to go over the 10,000 hour rule, what I think of it, how you can utilize it, all this different stuff, because I think a few people were asking about it on Instagram the other day. So I just want to give my thoughts on the 10,000 hour rule and kind of training in general. So I think when it comes to the 10,000 hour rule, what it actually tends to do is it puts a lot of players off because they think, well, I need to train 10,000 hours and I'm so far away from that. And it kind of disheartens a lot of people because they think they have this huge mountain to climb. So I want to give you first a different perspective on how to think of this, because actually hitting 10,000 hours is years upon years upon years down the line. And if you think you're not close to that, or you're looking at that and going like, damn, that's a lot of work, it could really affect the way you're training now. So instead of thinking about the 10,000 hour rule, think more about just what you're doing today. Focus on the hour, 2, 3 hours, or however long that you're training today. Don't think of this grand thing that's gonna happen 5 to 10 years. And that's ultimately how long sometimes it takes to hit that, sometimes longer. You don't need to be focusing on that. What you need to be focusing on is what you're actually doing each and every day. Take it one day at a time and bring your best to each and every single training session and day fully focused. And I'm gonna talk about that in a second because not all training is the same. But if you do that, those hours will add up, but it's giving you something that's much easier to put your awareness on, to put your focus on, which is what you're doing today. Right? You know, if I think, okay, my goal is going to be 10,000 hours of training because that's what I've been told will help me get to a higher level or whatever it is in anything, that's going to be very disheartening because let's say I have a good 2 to 3 hour session today, but I'm like, 2 to 3 hours, you know, that's nothing compared to 10,000 hours. I'm not focusing on the good things I've done today. I'm not focusing on those small wins, which are necessary to get to a larger goal like that. So there's no problem having like a goal of hitting that, or, you know, doing a lot of training, but focus more on what you're doing on the day-to-day. So focus on whatever training you have for today instead of thinking of this grand number that's out there in the distance. You don't need to focus on that as long as you're showing up every single day. The other thing about the 10,000 hour rule that is good to understand is 10,000 hours done in one way is not the same as the other. And I get questions about this all the time because someone will come to me and be like, I train for hours every single day and I'm not seeing results or whatever it is, right? And it's not just the fact that you're training every single day. It's how are you training? You know, where's your mind at when you're training? What kind of training are you doing? Because not all training is the same. Not just in the sense of what drills and techniques you're using, because some are better than others. And also understand that some are going to be better for you than others. Just because one person is doing particular training doesn't mean it's going to be the best for you where you are right now. For example, you know, there might be certain training that's really intense and is too intense for where you're at right now, or the opposite, something that's way too easy for you right now and you need more of a challenge. So understand that not all training is the same and it's going to vary from player to player. Next, and probably most importantly, is the way you train. You know, there could be a player that goes to the pitch for 2 hours and doesn't get as much out of a training session than a player that goes for 45 minutes to an hour. Now, how is that possible? One of the main differences is where that player's head's at during that session. So maybe player 1 that's going to the pitch for 2 hours is going there, but they're going through the motions. They're not challenging themselves. Their mind is elsewhere. They're thinking about different things while they're training. They're on their phone while they're training, you know, between sets or whatever. They're not really there. They're not focused. Where the other player for 45 minutes to an hour is just wired into what they're doing. They're focused fully, you know, they're in the moment. They're not thinking about anything. They're just focused fully on the flow of what they're doing. And they are going to get way more out of their training session for doing that. When you tap into flow, when you tap into the moment, and the only thing you're doing right now is what you're doing, the training, and you're not taking yourself elsewhere because you're thinking about the past or what you're going to do later in the future. You're just right here, right now, and right here, right now, you're training, and that's all you're focused on. You're going to get way more out of your training than if you're constantly distracted. So imagine hours upon hours every single day of doing that versus hours upon hours of going through the motions. In fact, going through the motions is going to train you to play in that way. And so you're going to get into your games and realize that you're going through the motions. While the player who's focused in his training is going to realize, wow, in games, he's more focused, he's more in flow, he's able to tap into that because he's practiced in that way. Okay, so the main takeaways from this video: don't worry about the 10,000 hour rule. Now, if you're someone who does and actually motivates you to do more each and every single day, then keep doing that, don't change anything. But focus more on each day. Focus more on what you're doing now so that you're not getting overwhelmed because you're nowhere near 10,000 hours or whatever else it is. If you show up every day and fully focus on your training or your recovery or whatever it is on that day for you, you're gonna start seeing improvements. Second thing is the way you're training. Make sure you're doing things that are going to improve you. Don't go to the pitch and go through the motions and then just feel good about it. Go to the pitch and actually do things that are gonna help you. Go to the gym and actually focus on what you're doing. You know, throughout your day, make sure you are focusing on things that are gonna help you as a player. So those are the two main takeaways. You know, I love the idea of the 10,000 hour rule. I've read the book Peak as well, which talks about how many hours you need to put in, but the big difference in that book is they say it has to be deliberate training. You know, again, you could have someone who's trained for 10,000 hours, yet not be as good as someone who trained for 5 to 6 based on how they're training. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to go over today. Start applying that to your training, get into flow, be in the moment, focus on what you're doing now. Don't worry about this huge 10,000 hour thing or whatever. That's the years down the line. If you show up every single day and fully focus on your training, you will get there. But don't focus on something that's 5 years out. All right, thanks guys for tuning in. Let me know if for any more topics you want me to discuss in videos of this nature. We'll of course have the regular videos as well, and I'll see you in those.